Hello and welcome to Mojarto On Art. I'm Anu Subramanian. This week, we explore the pros and cons of a 35-year-old law, and then we explore more contemporary issues like digital anxiety with artistic duo Swathi and Vijay. Plus, we share some upcoming events happening in the art world with you, and we meet two new artists on Mojarto.com. This is Mojarto On Art. I was recently struck during an interview by a bit of information that I learned. A classic Indian work brought into the country can never leave again. But what exactly does this mean, and what's the law behind it? We spoke with several art experts about this Antiquities Act and the way that it is applied today. On March 14th, Sotheby's held its South Asian auction. Ahead of its sale, I met Edward Gibbs for Sotheby's at the preview of the auction, where Sotheby's brought several works for sale to Delhi's Leela Palace Hotel. During our interview, he said this.
We wanted to bring some works by national treasure artists to India for this travelling exhibition, and we had to bring reproductions, which is a sort of missed opportunity, I think. The reason we have to bring reproductions is if you bring the works in, you can't take them out again.
Wait a minute, what does this mean? Were the classical works on display not the originals? So even an exhibition, a museum exhibition that's traveling couldn't bring a work here?
Well, that's right. It can be the antique works coming from outside into the country then get caught by the legislation.
What Gibbs says is that any classical Indian work brought into the country will be seized and kept in the country. This is thanks to the Antiquities and Treasures Act of 1972. A powerful document devised to protect Indian material culture that has perhaps been the single most important factor in India's classical art market.
Well, India has a very rich visual tradition and material culture, and great Indian works of art, miniature paintings, jewelry, stone sculpture, bronze sculpture, had been over many years leaving Indian shores because they were prized and valued by other cultures. We, of course, have a colonial history as well. After early 1970s, there was a feeling that an act should be put into place to protect Indian heritage. And that act stipulated that any work of art over 100 years of age cannot be exported from India. There was a notion that what is within India should remain within India. So they're acquired by Indians within India and they stay here. We endorse the fact that Indian art, works of importance and of history and of heritage should remain within the country, absolutely.
Undeniably, the intention behind the Antiquities and Treasures Act was to ensure India's classical art objects can be celebrated in their original country. In practice, its application has raised a variety of complications.
Actually, the government should give incentives to people who want to bring their miniatures back to India. They should be incentivized rather than being charged a prohibitive duty, because these works certainly belong to India.
In other words, many experts say that at a time when the Indian art market is still new and needs encouraging, such legislation can be an obstacle to sales, which would pour more money into the Indian cultural sector. And then there's the question of antiquities and classical works that are already outside the country. A, there's a parallel market for classical works that's more expensive outside of India. And B, that just because an Indian buyer wants to reclaim its culture doesn't mean that that work is coming back. So what do you think is going to happen when these two markets are happening in parallel? And two, is that really beneficial for Indian culture and the art market?
I guess there, in the antiquities market, you see those in the Chinese, there's always been these parallel markets between the domestic and the international. I mean, the Chinese has done exactly the same. They started to buy back. I mean, the Chinese are now, they are the ones who pays the most. And I think this is happening also in India. Indians going to start to be the ones that are outbidding the Americans, because they're going to start to realize the value of these objects. In a sense, I guess the market will just get stronger and stronger here in India, and because of the way the market is and the way that actually international cannot really export works out of India, means that I think we're going to start to see more and more works coming back into India.
Indeed, India is not the first country to establish laws to protect its heritage objects.
Britain is that works of art below a certain threshold can trade freely. Once it crosses a certain threshold of value, the work of art's export has to be agreed by a nominated expert. There are works of art in Japan that are viewed to be national treasures. In Italy, there are very stringent export rules. Germany has them, and all the countries of Europe protect their heritage. And I think that it's only natural that India would protect its heritage as well.
Several art experts, lawyers, and dealers have appealed the government to relax this law to allow for freer trade.
So whilst the Antiquities Act is absolutely essential and sort of cornerstone of the industry, I think it could be a bit more nuanced for our times.
Springtime has brought a slew of art events happening all over the country. Let's check out a few that really stuck out to us. Mumbai, Photovala presents Vasvo x Vasvo's new works, a survey of his hand-colored works through a wide selection of photographs produced in his studio. Bengaluru, Alliance Francaise is hosting The Mummer Stories, mime and physical theater plays. It's about the art of registering all the visible movements by which human emotions and thoughts are manifest. Hyderabad, watch Turebaz Khan, a play, at Taj Falak Numa Palace. It's a play about the last Nizam of Hyderabad and the region's freedom movement. It's on March 19th at 7 p.m. Mumbai, don't miss the fascinating photographic journey at Photography at Play, Bhat, Karya, and Mohammadi in Baroda, 1966 to 75. This was during a time when Baroda witnessed a decided turn toward photography in the late 1960s and early 1970s. This exhibition traces the photographic practice of 3 former faculty members. If one of these events is happening in your area, then don't miss it. Mojarto On Art is going to take a quick break, but when we get back, we meet a street art duo who gives us FOMO. Curious? Stay tuned.